Guys, I'm Steve. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. If it's your first time stopping by the channel, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you won't regret it. If you're a returning subscriber, as always, guys, welcome back, and I do appreciate the support. You guys got to excuse me, man. My allergies are killing me. But anyway, listen. I want to give you today's update on the Tyre Nichols trial. We're in day 9. And today, they interviewed the emergency room doctor that treated Tyre Nichols, EMTs, the second set of EMTs that came to the site, and they also interviewed an ex-member of the Scorpion team by the name of Kyle Kudre. And I'm gonna tell you something. Testimonies today really upset me because, you know, when somebody's suffering trauma, there are crucial moments and crucial details that need to be explained so proper help and care can be given. Tyre Nichols went into cardiac arrest at the scene, which they'll tell you today, which I believed a while ago when I seen him slump over and it looked like he took his last breaths in his fight for survival against these animals known as the Scorpion team. Take a look at this, and this is what happened today so far.
Now to day 9 of the federal trial of the ex-Memphis police officers accused in the beating death of Tyre Nichols. Today highlighted testimony from medical workers and first responders in the emergency room the night of Nichols' violent encounter with members of the Scorpion unit.
Now it revolved around how defendants Tadarius Bean, Demetrius Haley, and Justin Smith are accused of not sharing the full extent of Nichols' injuries with first responders, which delayed his need for medical treatment. Our Stephen Pempo was in the courtroom today, and Stephen will tell us who exactly took the stand today.
Rudy, Pepper, thank you. Today, we heard from the former paramedic who got to the scene of Nichols' arrest, the emergency room doctor who treated Nichols when he arrived at the hospital, and the fire alarm operator who was the first one to send crews to that scene. Now, all three said none of them were told about the beating that put Tyre Nichols into cardiac arrest. Earlier this morning, former Memphis Fire Department paramedic Jesse Guy continued his testimony. Guy treated Nichols on the scene and in the ambulance to St. Francis Hospital. Guy testified how when they arrived at the scene, the oxygen bag had not yet been brought over to Nichols, despite EMTs already being there. Guy told prosecutor Catherine Gilbert he depends on people sharing information with him so he can do his job properly and provide the proper treatment. Then prosecutor Elizabeth Rogers called Chloe Smith to the stand. Smith is a fire alarm operator for Memphis Fire, and she was working the night of Nichols' arrest and the one who put out the initial call for crews to go. Smith says the only information she got from Memphis Police Dispatch was that an assault had taken place and pepper spray was deployed. She says they dispatched Fire Engine 55 at 8:32 p.m. Then at 8:46, she said the fire engine requested an ambulance be sent. That ambulance got there at 8:55 and brought Nichols to St. Francis Hospital at 9:19. Smith says if she'd known the full extent of Nichols' injuries, they could have sent an ambulance to the scene immediately. Then Dr. Michelle Serbrook took the stand. She's the ER doctor who treated Nichols at the hospital, and she told the court she remembers how unusual it was to see a person as young as Nichols suffering from cardiac arrest. She says she was told only that Nichols was tased and pepper sprayed during the traffic stop, and that he ran from police and had to be taken to the ground. Now, Dr. Serbrook said that when Nichols arrived at the hospital, she remembers he had a broken tooth, he had blood in his mouth, and he had swelling on his head and abrasions on his knees. She said that while they were able to restore his pulse, the longer someone is in cardiac arrest, the more likely they are to suffer brain damage, which can be deadly. Coming up at 6, we'll hear from another former Scorpion member who says he witnessed the defendants beating more people during arrests. Live in downtown Memphis, I'm Stephen Pimpo.
Haley and Justin Smith. Coudray said some Scorpion officers used more force than necessary, and they used it to punish offenders, like those who tried to run from police. Coudray testified about a case where a person took a picture of himself pointing a gun at an officer. When the Scorpion unit tracked down that offender, he says they did more than arrest him, saying Demetrius Haley and Emmett Martin began striking the suspect, hitting him in the upper chest and face region while he was not resisting. He says they also threw the suspect into a couple of sliding doors. He says the suspect was walking, complying, and in handcuffs when he was punched in the rear side of his face. Coudray says more than one officer said their body cam was not on, but he was recording because he had a feeling something might happen. He also admitted at one point he used his hand to cover his body camera, since others were doing it too, but he knew it was against policy. And Cal Coudray's testimony just ended, the defense attorneys bringing out how he didn't tell the truth in his initial statements with prosecutors, making the case that he is only testifying because he faced charges, possible charges in one of those cases, since he was one of the officers on the scene and he did not write up a report. Attorneys for Justin Smith and Tadarius Bean also brought out that Coudray never mentioned their clients did anything, unlike Demetrius Haley. Reporting for your news leader in downtown Memphis, April Thompson, WREG, News Channel 3.
As you've seen the news, and as more and more information comes out, man, the more shocked I am. I mean, as if this thing wasn't bad enough. A lot of the intricacies and inner workings of the Scorpion team unit and their reckless abandon out there as wild dogs unleashed on the city of Memphis, it had no bounds. You notice Haley's name come up every time Emmett Martin's name come up? You ever notice that? Remember, they was called the Smash Brothers, so evidently they worked around each other very much for them to be, you know, connected in a lot of silly stuff. Now, I want you to hear something. The EMTs, the 911 operator said somebody got hit with pepper spray. We went over that. And there had been a struggle. Now, they get there. The first set, remember the EMTs, the white dude, the black dude, and then the lady in the thing? That was a fire truck, I guess. So evidently, they wasn't prepared to handle what they saw with Tyre Nichols. So what did they do? They called back for an ambulance. My thing is this. They're not saying what they did to him. If you go back and look, if you can stomach looking at that video, when you go back and look at the black dude that went and put the flashlight in his face at the first time, the EMTs both looked at each other like, what the hell? Then looked at them. They didn't say nothing. They just kept looking at Tyre Nichols while they sitting there breathing all heavy, staring at him. Gave no explanation. What did the doctor say? I can't treat a patient until I know what type of trauma they have went through. And when she seen him, he was swollen around his face and head. And she said she never seen nobody that young go into cardiac arrest. Perfectly healthy young man. They beat him till his heart stopped beating. That's unacceptable, man. It's no way they can get out of this. No way. I mean, if any of them got any type of you know, respect for the family or whatever, they need to hang their damn heads. Seriously. Especially Demetrius Haley. It's a mess of what they did to this guy. I mean, this is heartbreaking. Remember I kept saying I never seen anything like this? I never seen cops just say, hey, okay, let's pick this guy and beat the crap out of him, even if it kills him. They beat this guy and swung for as much as they was worth, and as big as they are, they beat him to death, and you guys seen it. Those that watch TV and watch the news and have watched the video, you watched an innocent man get beaten to death on TV because you got cops that are upset that they can't find some evildoers. So what did they do? They created one in Tyre Nichols. This is absolutely heartbreaking. And for his family to sit up in there and know him, know his character, and hear them tear it apart and cross-examine different people, and then, you know, have it all just backfire on them, makes it all the more worse. These guys the Scorpion team should have been disbanded. They got this guy, Kyle Coudray, whoever he is. He's up there talking. Oh yeah, they hide their camera, I hide my camera too. A guy pointed the gun at the police, they caught him, and they beat the hell out of him, and then threw him against a sliding door. And come on. This is like those old gritty movies in the 80s and 90s of dirty cops getting you in a dark alley and beating the hell out of you for no damn reason, for information or just taking your cash. And I'm sure they did that in their lives too. You running around here trying to get guns and all this stuff. What come with guns a lot of time? Illegal guns when you find them. Money. I wonder how much money they pocketed after beating people's asses. That's the thing that's left out. They was doing dirty stuff, not just physically. I'm sure they was doing other type of dirty stuff too. These people are shit. They are. They deserve to be thrown in the barbecue coals right now. Emmett Martin too, even though he testified and stuff like that, he doing that to save his own ass from an extra 20 years or so. But he going up the river just as fast, if not faster than them. And I'm gonna tell you something. And it's something I forgot about. From me being incarcerated. They said Emmett Martin's deal is 40 years. I want you to hear me. His deal is 40 years where his sentence might not exceed 40 years. So say he does get 40 years in the feds. The city of Memphis said they're gonna match whatever the time he gets in the feds. He might get 80 years. You know who else gonna get 80 years? All three of them in trial. You want the trial. They tell you when you go to trial, you face the maximum penalty. And all of them are there now. And it's too late to go back from the first hit of the gavel when court was in session. They are all screwed. They're all screwed. I don't know what kind of legal advice they got, but they are looking stupid in court. People are throwing the prosecutors are throwing so many haymakers just like they did on Tyre Nichols, that they bound to fall any minute. The whole crowd watching this fight for survival and freedom, the jury already know that they about to go down at any moment. All that valuable time lost because y'all couldn't say y'all beat his ass. But y'all did defend your position around the people in internal affairs. He was on something. He was so strong. Ran to his mom's house. Family's house. You, Dwayne Smith, field lieutenant. He on something. Taking the advice of them. You don't know when a man got the hell beat out of him or not? Everybody know when somebody been in the fight. Looking at their face, said his teeth was broken, mouth bloody. Come on. One simple fall ain't gonna do that, especially for a young man as young as Tyre Nichols was. Come on. You still got your strength and your reflexes. You would have blocked your hands. Field Lieutenant Dwayne Smith need to have his ass up there. Why? Because he was the leader of the Scorpion. He was the night supervisor over the Scorpion team, and you knew that they was whipping ass, but they let you gracefully bow out. Feds need to pull you right back into this super bullshit. They do. Because you knew it was some underhanded stuff going on, but you still went along with it because nobody died up till now. Now look at the whole thing. Shameful. Stock Market Steve for the Dynamic Reason channel. As always, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Kyle Kudre knew about the goofy stuff they was doing. He mentioned who? Martin and Haley. Two peas in a pod. And that's the thing that's crazy. Every time you hear Martin's name, you'll hear Haley's name. In stories both in and out of the courtroom dealing with the situation of brutality. You cannot tell me that nobody knew they was doing this type of stuff. And it takes a type of person to do this type of stuff with a badge on their chest and represent a city for law. Now, granted, don't get me wrong. Memphis, from what I've seen, is off the hook with crime. But still, you got to differentiate the real from the fake criminal. And you didn't do that. You just picked one and then made a fake narrative of why you had to beat a man to death and how bad of a criminal he was so you could do your job in your shift and feel good about yourself being on the Scorpion team. The fuck out of here. See you in the next video. Take care.